My name is Greg Burkhart, Director of Safety and Training here at the AGC of Northwest Ohio. Topic of conversation today is fall protection. I'm going to be talking about fall protection, subpart M of the OSHA 29 CFR 1926 standard. This is going to be a brief 10-minute talk regarding fall protection. Some statistics when it comes to falls in construction. 2018, there were 5,250 fatalities in the workplace in the United States. 1,008 of those fatalities were in construction. And of those 1,008 fatalities in construction, 338 were due to falls. OSHA has broke fatalities into 4 sections in construction called Focus 4. Those 4 are falls, electrical, caught in between, and struck by. Those 4 sections account for 60% of the fatalities on a construction site. If you look at the standards, 29 CFR 1926, you'll find subpart L, scaffolds, subpart M, fall protection, subpart R, steel erection, subpart V, electrical transmission lines, subpart X, stairways and ladders, and subpart CC, cranes and derricks. These all have their own section of fall protection. I want to focus on subpart M of that standard. Subpart M calls for the duty to have fall protection. Unprotected sides and edges. Each employee on a walking or working surface, horizontal or vertical, with an unprotected side or edge which is 6 feet or more above a lower level shall be protected from falling by the use of guardrail systems, safety net systems, or personal fall arrest systems. To go along with that, any employee working above dangerous equipment must be protected from the fall onto such equipment. NIOSH and OSHA have put together a chart called the hierarchy of controls. It calls for the elimination of the hazard, substitution of the hazard, engineering controls to control the hazard, administrative controls to control the hazard, or personal protective equipment. Eliminating the hazards. How do we eliminate the hazards in fall protection? Instead of workers erecting scaffolding with no fall protection, where erectors could erect scaffold on the ground and lift sections up to the erectors who are waiting behind guardrails of previously erected scaffold. Or lights on towers. Can we lower the lights to change the bulb instead of a worker climbing to change the bulb? In fall protection, substitution is not available. Substitution would be putting an employee, rotating an employee with other employees so that their exposure is not that high. This would be for chemical exposures, heat exposures, or even noise exposures. But we can use engineering controls. And engineering controls are simply installing guardrails or barriers to prevent access to hazardous areas, especially around unguarded floor openings. Or administrative controls. Administrative controls are procedures for fall protection. They offer no physical barrier for protecting workers from falls. Safety monitors, barrier tape with rules to stay behind the tape. Or PPE. And PPE is our last line of defense. So, we talked about eliminating the hazards. The lights, bring the lights down off the tower. What about our guardrail systems, an engineering system? If we build a guardrail system, our guardrails must be 42 inches plus or minus 3 inches high at the top rail, and they must be able to withstand 200 pounds of force. Our mid rails must be halfway between the top rail and the working surface, and they must be able to withstand 150 pounds of force. And then a toe board, 4 inches high, able to withstand 50 pounds of force. And to go along with that, the boards or the pipe must be clean with no protrusions on any of the guardrails. Floor openings, another way to engineer the problem out. Floor openings greater than 2 inches must be covered. These covers must be secure to prevent movement and able to withstand 2 times the maximum intended load that could be placed on that floor opening, on that floor cover. And they also must be marked with the words cover or hole. If the opening is too large, then we can simply install guardrails around that opening. And last but not least, our personal protective equipment. Personal protective equipment, our personal fall arrest system. It consists of an anchorage. That anchorage point must be able to withstand 5,000 pounds of force. So if you can hang up that F-150 pickup truck on that anchor point, then you've got a good anchor point. Your body wear, that would be your harness and your lanyard, must be inspected, must be proper fitting, and we must be able to use that in conjunction with Subpart M of the OSHA standard. Subpart M is the bare minimum of what we need to do. If you look at the other subparts, when you're on a ladder, when you're building stairways, when you're doing steel erection, or when you're climbing a tower for transmission lines, working off a scaffold, they all have their different rules, different laws for fall protection. The duty to have fall protection starts at 6 feet. When our feet are 6 feet above the lower level, or we are working above dangerous equipment, we must have fall protection. We also look at fall protection, scaffolding, ladders, stairways, steel erection, transmission towers, and other subparts in the OSHA standard. But please remember, Subpart M is where we start when it comes to fall protection. 6 feet is our trigger point in the construction industry, our duty to have fall protection.